Welcome back, everyone, to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends do deep dives into romance novels, decide what works for us and what doesn't, lift each other up, and invite you along for the journey. Today's Patreon shout-out goes out to Jenny N. Jenny, you are a descendant of the Fates, the three sisters who use their prowess in the textile arts to tell the future of mortals. Like these three, you're talented with fabric, expressing yourself with piecework. You can take a collection of what others would call nothing and turn it into a gorgeous work of art that keeps people as warm as your personality, aura, and heart. In short, positively toasty. You've also taken your ancestors' cold talent for premonition and turned it on its head by shaping the future of anyone who encounters you with your vast wisdom and bottomless empathy. You might untether people, but instead of cutting their life cords, you cut the leashes, keeping them bound to their own sense of limits, insecurity, and to the voices in their heads telling them that they can't. You're truly inspiring. And with that, let's finish up our discussion of Susan Elizabeth Phillips' Match Me If You Can. Buckle up, guys, because once again, this was a bit of a hate read. Hi, Erin.
Hello, Melody.
How are you?
Doing okay. Doing good.
Are you hanging in there?
Yeah. It's one of those things. HB's, there was a small earthquake in Anchorage, Alaska this week.
I don't know. From pictures, it looks like a pretty massive earthquake.
It was a huge earthquake. No one died, which is nice. There weren't any significant buildings lost.
One? That's great.
No. But a lot of people got, jostled up. A few houses slid off their foundations.
Oh my gosh.
We lost some stuff, but nothing, significant. Yeah. It's just, it's one of those things. Our house was completely fine if you don't count like some candles and vinegars and stuff.
Okay.
But like you're looking around and like other people got, so it's hard to not, our lights didn't even go out. So we were totally fine. And we were under a boil order and stuff. And there was a time where the city was going to shut off the water. So I filled up the bathtubs. And that's pretty much the extent of the situation for me.
Meanwhile, you look at pictures of like the Anchorage library.
Oh God, yeah. Poor HB Karen has to reshelve like 100,000 books in the Eagle River Library.
It is so many books.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the work ahead of her in that situation.
Yeah,
I had to reshelve several books as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I would say 10 to 20 books I had to reshelve.
My gosh.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Big deal.
Well, and I think we were messaging this week at one point, and you were like, I keep having to reshelve them because the aftershocks.
Well, that's the problem. We had probably 20. We had probably thousands of aftershocks, but like maybe 20 to 30 or so that you could feel. Yeah. I took cover maybe 2 or 3 times.
Whoa.
In the course of the last couple days. We had a lot overnight. So I would like put all my shit away and then it would just fall off again.
Right.
It sucked. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it just feels like you're Sisyphus.
I feel like an idiot complaining about that. Like, I put my book back on the shelf and my book kept falling off. People have like actual problems, but.
Right.
Yeah.
That photo of the car on the island in the middle of a sinkhole that used to be the road.
There are a few.
If he had been 5 feet to the left or right, that car would be in the giant sinkhole.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck do you call that? Fissure.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a geologist in the cult. We should probably ask.
Just screaming at us right now in her car.
Yeah.
Wow.
It seems to look a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We put up the Christmas tree today. Be damned. Like, I hope there isn't another aftershock.
That's bold, Erin.
But I was like, we got to put it up. What are we going to, I don't know. We haven't had an aftershock all day. So.
As of this recording. So, gosh, we have no time left.
You need to have maximum Christmas.
I do not.
What do you want to have? Minimum Christmas? No.
Yeah, usually that's what I want. Yeah. I want a metric fuck ton of wonderful food and a few gifts. The nice thing about being due right around Christmas and having a partner who's like Mr. Planner is that he's just been giving me my presents as soon as they arrive. So, yeah, like a while ago, he did this Kickstarter for the Plexus Plus. It's like this back thing. Because, I have I'm always looking for a new back massager or stretcher or whatever. And so he Kickstarted this thing hoping that it would come in by November. It came in mid-October and he was like, Happy Christmas super early. And I was like, oh shit. So
that's the first early Kickstarter in the history of time.
I know, right? It's amazing.
I've got Kickstarters that I've ordered 3 years ago for Christmas. And I'm still waiting on. Yeah.
I know. And then the other day he got me a really sweet, comfy labor and delivery dress thing. So it's got Velcro in the front and then it's got snaps so I can get my tits out real easily. You know those labor and delivery ladies.
Gross.
They like some easy access.
No, it's gross.
And then
no.
Man, Erin, I mean, I know that vaginas gross you out, but tits have never grossed you out until you thought about a baby.
Labor and delivery tits. Gross.
And then I asked for a shark steam mop because
I used mine today.
Ayo.
Before putting the tree up. Yeah.
Well, Michael, of course, did a Google or a several Googles, and he found out that there's a brand that people like better, I guess, on the internet. So he got me that one. That came in today.
Wrong. Yeah. Fortunately, you won't have used the shark steam mop to compare it to. You'll probably love yours, but just know that it's a little worse than what I've got going on over here. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's been perpetual Christmas over here, and it's been awesome for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's been really nice. And I haven't had to do any work. I've not hung an ornament. I have not strung a light.
That's so great. Nice. Christmas just happened for you?
It just keeps happening. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I know.
I have some housekeeping to say.
Tell me everything.
This may be premature, and maybe episode 2 of Match Me If You Can is not the right place to say this, but I've wanted to say it for a long time, so we'll repeat this. Okay, listen. HBs.
Okay.
Many of you in the cult, around on the Instagram, a lot of you are writers of books.
Yeah.
And are self-publishing your own books. Okay?
Right.
We would love nothing more than to talk about those books on the podcast. However, we're not going to because we're worried. We're worried about it. We don't want to talk about one of you and not another one of you. Or what if we read your book and we don't like it? We don't want to not like your book and have to tell people we don't like it. That's awful.
That's my biggest thing. It's just I am going to be honest. And if my honest opinion shits on a new, a fledgling writer or a self-published writer, somebody who's hustling, I just do not want to be put in that
I don't
situation.
Want any part of it because the next person might love that book, and I don't want that person to not buy that book from the hustling young writer because I didn't like it. I mean, that's silly. So we're not going to talk about your book on the podcast or shout it out because we don't want to show favoritism and we don't want to not like it. And we're just icked out by the whole thing.
It's just a whole thing.
But if you want to advertise on the podcast, you can.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are a writer and you want us to talk about your book on the podcast in an advertisement sort of way, we just want you to know that we are open for business. And that if you're an HB who we know is an HB because you've been around, I don't want the geriatric friendship cult to become something that people join to get discounts on advertising. That's not where I'm going with this.
Right.
But if we know you because you've been around, we might throw you a little discount. So
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Hit us up for advertising.
Yeah, we want to do everything we can to help out. We just, we can't review your book.
Yeah, it makes me queasy. So if you send us an email being nervous. Hey, would you mind reviewing my book? And we didn't send you an email back. It's not because we don't like you. It's just because we don't do that. But if you want to do an advertisement thing where it's like a business deal, we're happy to do that.
Right. And please rest assured that I have probably had an upset tummy about it for a good 3 days after you sent the email.
Yeah, me too.
I just don't like it. And that is not to make you feel bad at all. That is merely to say that we want to do anything in our power. We just have to limit our power because of all those reasons.
Because, like, even within the group, it's like I'll see, like, one person post that they're publishing their book.
Yeah.
And they get, like, 100 comments, and, like, everybody's like, woo!
Yes.
And then, like, the next person will post, and they won't get very many comments at all, and it's just arbitrary. It just happens to be, like, what time of the day or whatever, or what picture or what, you know, and I'm just like,
was around.
I want her to get the same number of comments that the other person got.
I know.
And it just... Yeah, I can't be a part of that. It stresses me out way too much.
Same. And I don't have enough time to devote to social media to, like, constantly stalk the group in order to make that happen. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Send us an email. If you really, really want us to talk about your book on the podcast, send us an email and we'll talk about advertising.
Yes.
So absolutely. I think that's the only solution. Okay. All right, cool.
So we've got, talking about shitting on books.
Yeah, but listen, guys, I think that SEP is a good writer.
Me too.
I'm reading this book, and I believe her writing is good. There are times where I get sucked into this thing, but then I get sucked right out by some choices she's making. So I don't know that I would shit on every Susan Elizabeth Phillips book. I just don't like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what last episode I was like, I think this was probably not the greatest book for me personally to start with in her vast repertoire. Yeah. Because I just, it's a little triggering in a lot of ways.
And I seriously doubt that she's staying up at night worrying that the Heaving Bosoms podcast did not like the 6th book in her Chicago Star series.
Yeah,
I feel like she's laughing all the way to the bank. So
that's right.
We're okay.
Phillips, you keep being the beautiful unicorn that you are. And we will be over here just not super liking this one book. That's fine.
She and Jude Devereaux can cry in their beer about us not liking their books.
I'm sorry. I feel like they're white wine spritzer kind of ladies.
Yeah, fair. I feel like it's really, just the phrase is cry in your beer. You're right. It's white wine spritzers that they're crying into. Okay. All right. We're on what? Chapter 12 of Match Me If You Can by Susan Elizabeth Phillips.
Yeah.
And our Annabelle and Heath are about to go to, did we set up that they're going to go to the camping place?
Honestly, okay. I don't know. They're going
basically
camping.
He wants to get in with Phoebe, who owns one of the
Chicago
sports ball teams. Yep, the sports ball team. That's the major thing in this.
Yep.
And he did her dirty, and since Annabelle was invited to this camping trip for her book club with all her friends, which includes Phoebe and all of the sports ballers that they're all married to, at least 5 of them, because this is book 6.
That's the one, yep.
He wants to go with Annabelle. So they're going to go out to the campground.
Yeah, he has strong-armed his way into this trip. And he has a very specific script for her to follow. He wants her to tell everyone that he can't focus on all the wonderful women she's setting him up with because he's just working so hard, and so he needs some R&R, and he needs to learn how to let loose. And she's been very, just not talking to anyone about it, which he doesn't like. So he gets them a private jet from a client. He spends the whole flight not talking to her, and it really is just titillating, really, the amount that they just don't speak. He just spends so much time on the phone. Really, though, he's told everyone that he's going to actually be involved and not be on his phone and not working. And so he's trying to get in his 8 hours before they get there initially.
I just want to say, all right, this is them leaving for the trip, guys. Quote, "A flirty bronze top set off tiny amber eardrops, a Christmas gift from Kate. She'd gotten her split ends trimmed, and for once her hair wasn't giving her trouble. Heath wore another of his expensive polo shirts, this one moss green, along with stone-colored chinos and loafers. Isn't that 2 people that you really want to read about getting it on?"
Oh, God. They're gonna bone in
her bronze top and his chinos and loafers. Ooh, isn't that just the sexiest couple you've ever heard of?
Yep.
She trimmed her split ends for this, you guys.
No, but more than that, he paid at least $120 for a $40 polo. So he is making it.
Right. So he makes her drive out to this countryside campground, and then he nags her driving the whole way. He's like, the whole way. You drive. And then he's like, you drive like a bitch. The whole way.
And it's not even Oh, so first of all, I did love that she immediately clapped back and she was like, now I kind of see why you want a wife, because you just want a semi-intellectual blow-up doll who can do menial tasks for you.
Right.
That's what you want. Great. But yeah, his comment is the speed limit is 55 and you're barely doing 60.
Yeah.
On like a windy country road, Heath.
Yeah.
What? Like,
he just needed an excuse to be an asshole to her.
He did. And he didn't even have one, so he made one up. He's so good at it. Okay, so they get there. One of her friends owns this like sprawling, it's not even, we shouldn't say camping, and it's not even glamping. It's like cabins with all the amenities. It's like rich people summer camp, but for adults.
Right.
And they go into the room. He, of course, wants the nice bed. She's like, no, this was my trip and you're the interloper here. And he's like,
Annabelle.
Yeah, I know, totally. And he's like, well, you know what? Actually, it's been so long since I slept outside, because remember, he is leather portfolio, except when he's a can of Bud Light. So, you know, he does that up real good. He pulls a mattress out onto the porch, which I actually really liked. And then, they get together with all the ladies. There's like 5 couples. And everybody's like, what's going on with you and Heath?
Yeah. So she has this conversation with the women where they're basically like, Heath is terrible. He's a really mean person. And if you fall in love with him, we're not about it. And she's like, nah, I'm not falling in love with him. They're like, well, we've noticed you looking at him and you seem to be into it.
And all of her inner monologue is also indicating that she's like very, very sexually attracted to him at the very least.
Yeah. And that's kind of started at this point. Like both of them start thinking about each other sexually at that like children's party. And then it kind of goes from there. And that's all good. Like, SEP does a good job of making me understand that they are into each other. Like, for most of this trip to the campground, I was reading this a couple days ago or whatever. Because remember, guys, I didn't read the whole book. I read half the book for the first one, and then I read the other half of the book for the second one. I was like, oh, I'm going to surprise Melody because I'm into this book now. I'm into these two. I like them. Okay. I'm ready for them to get together. Like, from Wind Song, Camp Song on, that was Wind Song, whatever, campground. I'm into it. And then there was a limit to that, and then it ended for me. But anyway, this beginning part, I'm like, oh, okay, I like these guys now. I'm coming around on this book. Also, we learned that Gwen, who she set him up with as a subterfuge that very first date, Gwen is a member of this book club. She just couldn't make it.
Because she's A, visibly pregnant, and B, closing on a house.
Yeah.
So, like,
she's like, hey guys, no one mention Gwen or he'll know that I lied to him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And everybody's like, he's going to flip his shit when he finds out that you conned him. And she's like, I know. So he must not find out.
People are literally worried for her safety because they know that he's like, he's a scary guy when he gets mad. That's not a good sign, Annabelle.
The nice thing, Erin, is that she has time to get away because of how long it takes him to uncoil from a seated position into an upright position. It takes a while.
That's true. That is true.
So they do a lot of gender segregated activities. Like the dudes have one book and it's all about hiking and mountaineering or something as an allegory, probably for success. And then the ladies have their own book, or own books, I guess. I think it's like, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And at night, they're supposed to be going back to this cabin where they just have it to themselves. So Phoebe, like at a couple of times throughout this whole thing, she'll barely talk to Heath except to be like, hey, you need to not fuck around with this lady because she's a good one. And you need to, like, not be a total douche nozzle.
Right.
And he's like, it's really not in my nature, though. So.
Yeah. So they have this night where they're all together. They have dinner or whatever. They all start drinking and dancing on the beach.
Oh, can I really quick?
Yes.
I think it's right before this happens. I think that you would call me a squishy person, right?
Yes. Yep.
I'm pretty squishy.
You're a sentimental gal.
I can be, most assuredly. However, there was a moment in this book that gave me a full body shudder.
Yes.
And that is when all the ladies are standing there. I imagine them like on a deck and their dudes are by the lake off in the distance or something. Most of them are shirtless. And they do that thing where somebody's like, oh, wow, he's really good looking.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to keep my man.
Oh,
and
God.
like,
Yeah. It's
another
worst.
one is like, ooh, look at that, like, muscly with this blah, blah, blah. And, oh, yeah, he's mine. And like, and then the next one comes up and she's got to get a piece of it too. So the third one's like, except look at the one I married. Like, I cannot in a million gazillion years imagine standing around with you, looking at Michael and David and being like, look at that hot hunk of man that I get to put my legs around all the time for the rest of my life.
Oh my
like,
God. I just got physically ill imagining that situation.
It's so weird.
The one that stuck out to me, though, was like the one single one, because there's still single women left in this book series, was like, couldn't you just let me borrow a couple of them for the night? Can you imagine saying that to one of your female friends?
Never.
Would you just let me borrow your husband for a night? Like, what? No, that's not something you say.
That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing to say. And I am the one who's like, anybody should be monogamish if they want to. Like, it's still a weird thing to say.
Yeah. Even if we were both not monogamous with our partners, it would still be weird to be like, hey, can I borrow your husband? Like, I just, woof, that's gross.
Yeah. I would be like, no, he's not a screwdriver.
Yes.
Like, first of all. Okay, so anyway, sorry. Okay. That was
so they have this thing, they're all dancing on the beach.
Ooh, yeah, they're dancing.
There's kind of a weird discussion on, like, she got moves because she took classes, which is like, they're all fast songs, so I don't know what, she took some kind of hip-hop class or something, I don't know. Yeah. But the song that they, like, fall in love to is Hey Ya by Outkast, so I don't know what class she took to have some moves, but, okay. Then she makes this comment where she's like, okay, so they're into each other sexually
and they're dancing together.
Yes. And her, like, boobs graze up against his chest.
Of course.
And, like, they're just, starting to notice they're into it. And they've had a couple drinks and,
they've had a few
they're
drinks,
about it
I'd
now.
say.
Yeah. And she says something to the effect of, I'm really glad that drinking gives you the excuse to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And then the next day you can be just like, haha, I was so drunk. And she's like, so maybe I could get with him and pretend I was really drunk. And then the next day just be like, oh my God, what a mistake. Never let me have tequila again. Am I right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a thought that you have when you are 20.
Yep.
But not a thought that you have when you're 30. Because my whole reaction to that was like, hey, Annabelle, how about you grow the fuck up? Mm-hmm. I didn't like that at all for the maturity of her character.
Yeah. And be honest with yourself and honest with everyone else. How about that? Yeah. Not to mention that when you're 30, it's not even a good excuse. Like, I can see a 19, 20, 22-year-old. Yeah, but I do understand being to the point where you have not experienced alcohol enough that you honestly don't know what your limits are. Mm-hmm. And so it's much more believable to be like, ugh, I don't remember what happened last night because I had 3 drinks after I should have stopped, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas when you're 30, you should know by now when you have to be like, I gotta stop now, or I don't know.
It's less for me a thing about binge drinking and more like pre-planning the idea of like not being to that level, but having in your head, like, I'll just pretend I'm at that level to justify my terrible choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a manipulative thing that I can kind of forgive in a very immature person who's immature because of their age. And I cannot forgive in an immature person who's immature just because they refuse to grow up and they're 30 years old and a professional woman in the world.
Yeah, I guess my bigger point was just if you, Erin, were like,
yes,
wow, I was so drunk and so I did that, I would be like, hi, don't believe you. So
fair.
I think you just wanted to kiss him and that is something that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't believe you. So anyway, that's her whole strategy.
Yeah. And then they get back in the room together and he's like, oh, I don't want to go to my bed because I'm too wired and I need somebody to talk to. And like, he's kind of playing a situation where he can like stay in a room for a little longer. And she's uses this as a mechanism.
Saying out loud.
Yeah. I'm so drunk. But it's clear that it's sarcastic. Like she's meeting his eyes and like winking and being like, I'm so drunk. You understand that I'm very, very drunk and I cannot be held accountable for what I'm about to do drunkenly to you. And I felt like that was cute.
That was cute.
I liked that banter because she wasn't actually too drunk.
Yes.
And like it was just kind of a mechanism in the conversation between the two of them. I have the problem where she would like actually use it as a
well, yeah, where her inner monologue is just like, this is a great idea.
Yeah. But I like it as a cute joke between the two of them. I don't like it as an actual excuse, but it was, I thought, very, very cute. And so she's like, all right, just so we're clear, I'm super duper drunk, and that's why I'm okay with this. And he's like, yeah, I got it. I'm reading you loud and clear, honey. And then they go in for a smooch, and it is a good smooch. Sure. And then she pushes back and she's like, nope, I can't do it. I'm sorry. If only I actually were drunk. But I'm not. Right. And this was a big mistake. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I really liked that moment with her. And I really liked that he was like, wow, all of that sucks so hard. And yet, okay. I mean, don't worry. He gets super manipulative afterwards. But in that moment, all was good. So he's like, well, I know that I'm not tired. And I know that you're not tired. And I know that if we stay in this cramped space, like things are going to happen. So we got to go for a walk.
Right. So they go for a walk.
Yeah. She's like, oh, fine.
And he does sales on her. He's like, listen, this is true, correct? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, how about this, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, physical attraction, baseline human instinct, and he gets her on the yes train with all of these answers. And he's like, all right, then this is fine. This is 100% okay. And like goes in for another smooch. And then she's like, wait a minute, you just python me. I've been sales-did, and you need to back off.
There's a snake in her.
Yeah. all up in her kundalini.
Yeah, but then she gets super pissed.
Yeah.
Which I didn't super understand, but I was fine with. Like it wasn't, I shouldn't say he got manipulative because he didn't. I think I just don't like him.
I think he's just trying to get her to smooch him. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But she thinks he's very manipulative. And she goes to bed angry. The next day, there's some stuff with some kids. I don't care. He's cute with kids, I guess. Don't care. I herbsed it all.
Not really. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I herbsed it, so I assumed he was cute with kids in there. It was like blah 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 kid stuff.
No.
What happened that was not cute?
Honestly, I've wiped it from my brain. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. Here's my honest thing that happened this week. Erin didn't read the whole book last week.
Yes.
This week, I could not force myself to reread the second half. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. There was too much, and I wasn't going to put myself through it. I'm already physically uncomfortable enough at 36 weeks pregnant. I just couldn't.
Okay, HBs, listen up. Guess what? For the first time ever, maybe like third time ever, guess who's in the driver's seat? Erin. So we herbed all the kid shit. Yes. Just know, there's kids at this campground. He was cute. One of the kids starts calling him Pwinz. P-W-I-N-Z. And every time I saw that word on a page, I herbs my way right through that because I hate it. I hate it when kids talking, talk, and I hate it. I cannot. Yeah. So shit happened with kids. I don't know what it was. All right, moving on. So he talks to Phoebe, the owner of the sports team, and tries to kind of get in there a little bit by complimenting her on her good kid who's cute. And Phoebe says basically like, hey, listen, I can tell that you're using Annabelle to get to me, and that's not fair.
And I don't like it.
And I don't like it at all. So whatever past we have where you were a slimy slime bucket and stabbed me in the back, that's whatever, but stop using my friend to get to me. And he gets all pissed about that, I think because it's true.
Right, yeah. It definitely strikes a chord with him.
So then that night, everybody gets to dinner and everyone starts talking about Annabelle and her sex life. And so everybody's like, hey, what's going on with Dean? Yep. The football
Dean
player.
Robillard.
That you went to the beach with. If you HBs recall, she went to the beach with a sexy young football player.
Yep.
It was kind of they're like buddies now. He wants her to like hang around so that women aren't like always coming up to him, and she just kind of likes hanging out with him, but there's nothing there. He's like 10 years younger than her. Everybody at the table is like, hey, what do we hear about you dating him? And she's like, oh, I don't know. He might ask me out again. I'm not sure. She's just kind of playing it. And then they turn to her being in a shell and her not having sex with anyone since Rob, who, if you will recall, is now Rosemary.
Yep. And this is one of the places where shit is just gross.
So I didn't even understand this. So somebody is talking, Dan or Kevin, one of these previous heroes in one of the other Chicago Stars books is talking about like, oh my gosh, I used to play golf with Rob. Who would have thought that he would turn into a lady, like, sort of thing, and being like, he was such a man. You guys, aren't you all surprised? And everybody's like, yeah, I'm so surprised. Then they go into this thing about his duck swing, which I did not understand.
A duck swing?
So I didn't understand what it was. So I texted my golfer friend, Cole.
Yeah.
And I said, what's a duck swing? And he said that it was a bad golf swing. So there's this joke that's like, hey, you guys remember his duck swing? Yeah, I remember his duck swing. And then they all kind of like laugh and smile and crack up.
Oh, that must have been the lady part of him? Is that what's going on?
I don't know. So Molly, one of the women there, says, what are you guys laughing at? And then it says, Kevin shook his head, quote, no sex change operation in the world is going to fix a duck hook. Oh, duck hook. That's what it is. Duck hook.
Okay.
Is going to fix a duck hook like that, end quote. And I'm like, are they talking about his penis? Is that what's going on? They're talking about a penis? I don't get it. Like, are they saying it was big? Yeah. Or that after a sex change operation that she wouldn't be able to golf? Like, I didn't get it. So I took a picture of the page and I sent it to Cole and he's like, I don't get it either. Like,
okay.
This is not a golf. He's like, I guess they're talking about his penis, but it's a dumb joke and I can't figure it out. Huh. So bottom line here, they're definitely making fun of Rosemary for being transgendered in like a golf way, but even a golfer does not understand it. It's definitely gross. I'm just not sure in what way that it's gross because I don't get the joke.
Yeah. But
whatever the joke is, it's at her expense for sure. And it's about sex change operations for sure. So So it's gross somehow. I'm not educated enough on,
sure.
I would say golf, but it's like I consulted a golfer. I don't get what this is.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, you can edit this.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It was just, I didn't understand the content of the joke either. I just knew that it was a joke at her expense. And so I was just like,
I just knew it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I wanted to understand it because I wanted to specifically be like, I consulted a golfer and they're talking about a penis here, but even he was like, I have no idea what they're doing, but it's clearly gross.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say something that I think is also out of character, and I think we might be on different sides of the coin on this one. The next thing that happens is fucking weird.
Yeah, it's so super weird. Wait, why would you think that I would think it was normal?
Because back in, I don't know, Virgin Diaries or whatever we read, you were like, no, it's blah, I've watched.
Okay, listen. There are... God, I don't want to do this. Okay.
Yeah, we can cut
this out. It is never okay.
Not...
All right. I'll put this down. It is never okay to watch porn with your friends for personal enjoyment. It is sometimes okay to watch a clip of porn with your friends to be like, what is that?
Oh,
that is what.
Okay.
That is the line I'm drawing. So these women get together in a room to watch a full-length women's erotica movie.
Right.
I think that's weird. What they did in the Virgin romance novel,
they watched a whole porn together while snuggling, Erin.
But the tone of it was not, hey, let's watch I think that's weird. I'm
sorry. Her back was right up against his scrotum. She was laying in between his legs. His arms were wrapped around her with a laptop on her lap. That is weird if you're not fucking the person that you are in full body contact with.
Wanted to have sex with each other. And the context of that was very like, you don't know what sex things are. So I'm going to help you figure this out. We're going to watch this in like an educational way where I can be like, that is a penis. That is what it looks like. Here's how you touch it. This is just like, hey, ladies, you want to get together and watch porn? And the context that where I think it's okay. Again, I don't necessarily think either of these are okay, but I think that the Virgin romance novel is more okay than this. But I do think it's okay to be like, hey, check out this weird clip. What is this? Is this a thing?
Yeah, totally. And I think in like, I mean, and I know you're not using it in this way, so I want to make sure everyone knows that. We're not saying that if you have done this, you are not okay.
No.
We're just saying that our personal boundaries.
Yeah, I personally, that's my boundary.
Yeah, I'm never going to be like, hey, Erin and 4 other friends, not only should we like swoon over our men folk together, but then just a little while later, let's watch a bunch of naked people go at it to, what did she say? To like,
to
awaken our sexuality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you have to do that as a group together? What?
Yeah, just send everybody the link. Talk about it later.
Yeah.
For me, the only way to do that is like to just watch something and then talk about like, is that exactly what we do every week?
Exactly what we do every week. You're so right. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people would draw the line before doing even what we do.
I think you're right. I think you're probably right. So anyway, they watch a porn together, and it's not even like a porn. It's apparently like a soft core, mostly bad acting kind of
like
situation.
Those movies that used to be on Oxygen late at night.
Yes. Like not even Skinamax.
No.
And then they all go back. And everybody's like, ooh, I got to go see my husband.
Yeah, everyone's real turned on.
Yeah, and poor Janine, the only other single one there, just has to, like, I guess go home and masturbate. I don't know.
You know what? She did better than Annabelle.
Oh boy, howdy.
At least Janine got off.
So Annabelle goes back to the cottage, and what's his name is there? The hero of this story. And she's like, well, I gotta go to bed, like, immediately.
She's like red. She's weird. She's looking at him
flustered.
Weird. Yeah. He's laying there with no shirt on. She's checking out his abs. She's just not okay because she's so horned up from this movie. And then he's like, you guys did something weird. I can tell something's weird about you. And so he picks up the phone to call some of the women. And she's like, no, fine. We watched porn. And he's like, you guys watched porn. Yeah. And she's like, well, whatever. I'm going to bed. And she goes into the fridge and grabs what she believes to be a soda. It turns out to be mustard. And he's like, why do you have mustard? And she's like, it's a sleep aid. Very few people know that. And like,
that is really cute.
Just keeps kind of like hitting on her. And he's like, well, how do you do the mustard? Do you eat it or do you apply it? Because I could help you apply it if that's the way you have to use it. Anyway, so it's just a very cute, bantery evening.
He tells her that he's got a good size ego, but the way that she rejected him last night was pretty traumatic.
Yeah. So she goes to go into her bedroom and she tries to walk past him. And then he just reaches out and kind of touches her arm.
Yeah.
And then
it was the merest brush of his finger, a simple parting gesture, but he'd found bare skin. And that was enough to make her stop in her tracks.
I loved it. I was like, yes. I was all, at this moment, I am all about this book. Like, I'm ready to text you and be like, I was wrong. Book is magic. Best book ever.
Well, you know what? Why don't we tell everyone that is the strategy? Either herbs, the first half of the book, come in at chapter 12 and you'll like them. Or,
because honestly,
read the first 12 chapters, take a little break, and then come back to it.
Because I didn't find a lot of simmering between them before chapter 12.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of buildup that I felt like I needed to contribute to the reading of chapter 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they're going to get together. They're stripping down. They're on the porch. He goes in and turns out...
He pulled her against him, feasted on her mouth, ran his hands down the contours of her back, and she let him. Just as she had last night, ignoring the fact that this was the Super Bowl of bad ideas, ignoring all of the reasons why she shouldn't live every moment of this one night and deal with the consequences tomorrow.
They're on the porch. They're naked. He runs in. He turns out all the lights in the house so that they can have sex on the mattress on the porch. It's awesome. He is like, listen, I'm pretty sure, since I haven't had sex in a long time, since I've been training for marriage, quote unquote, that this is going to go fast. So, and she even like stops him. She's like, hey, I need more kissing. Hey, I need more everything. Like, this is not enough foreplay for me.
So gross.
And so he's like, all right, I will make you a deal. I need to do this quick right now.
Oh.
And then after I'm done, I'm going to give you the night of your life. basically. I think he even says.
He says, I'll go too fast for you. That's a given. And I apologize in advance. And somehow she gives a soft gasp of pleasure when he touched the warm, wet flesh. But it's been a long time for me. And what might in reality only take a few minutes, if that, her toes curled, will seem like years to me. His voice grew ragged. So here's what I'm going to suggest. Let's accept the fact that I can't satisfy you the first time. That takes the pressure off both of us. Does it, Heath? Does it take the pressure off of both of us?
Once I've released the first burst of steam, I'll have all the time in the world to do the job right. And you, Tinkerbell, that's his nickname for her, you'll have a night you'll never forget. So she agrees to this because she's like, oh, okay, you're going to get off and then you're going to circle back around and do this again.
Here's my thing. If a person knows that, because this is such a disgustingly cis mediocre male way of viewing sex that's like, there is a one way to do sex, and that is my penis goes in, I remove it a little, I put it back in, I remove it a little. Like, that is the only way that one can have sex. And so I'm going to be fast the first time. How about you give her some more kissing, you fucker? How about you play with her nipples a little bit? How about, I don't know, you put her mouth on her vulva? Maybe you could find her clitoris. Just like look for it a tiny bit. I don't know. What the fuck if you know that you are going to get off and she's not, and that is like the negotiation you're starting from? Get out of my bed. Fuck you. That is not how this works around here. My head exploded at this moment. I could not handle it, especially since oh my God. Go ahead, Erin. You go ahead.
Here's the thing. I understand where you're coming from. What I always think of is that there's an Amy Schumer stand-up special where she is talking about a sexual encounter with a man where she says he immediately, like, we were kissing and then he immediately started going down on me because he was raised right. And like, I'm just like, you were not raised right. But anyway, here's the thing. Reading this, I was like, this is how Melody is going to be mad that he didn't take care of her first and then do whatever he needed to do. But what made me mad was not only that, but mostly that he does the thing that he says that he's going to do, and then he just fucks off. He doesn't circle back around.
Exactly. So then,
he was like, oh no, I'm not ready again. I'm not able to be hard again. And he's like, so I don't, I'm just going to sleep. And it's like, what is wrong? What is wrong with all the other parts of you? Is your mouth broken?
Wait, let me just read this for you.
Okay.
She was dazed, determined not to think, not yet. It didn't happen for me, she said. He propped himself up on one elbow and gazed into her lying eyes. I didn't understand this either because I honestly can't remember whose perspective.
Was she supposed to have had an orgasm? But
yeah, like,
it fades to black. She says that she like arches her back and gives herself up to it or something like that. Was that supposed to have been an orgasm?
I honestly don't know.
And then she lies to him?
Yeah.
Because she does do a fair amount of lying to him after this.
She does a fair lot of lying to herself and everyone.
I can kind of see the author saying that she did have an orgasm and then she tells him she didn't. But either way, he thinks she didn't. So he needs to take care of that.
Yeah. And so he goes, I hate to say this, but I told you so. And she goes, you were right, as usual. Crinkles formed at the corner of his eyes, and he pressed a quick kiss to her lips. Let this be a lesson. He pulled himself up. I'm going to need a few minutes. Like, and she says, once again, you don't need a few minutes. You just need to find her clitoris with your hand or mouth or goddamn cheekbone. Like something.
He just falls asleep. He doesn't do anything in a few minutes. He just goes to bed.
He returned a few minutes later with a beer.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to, no, that's not true. He says, it's not going to take me quite as long to recover as I thought. And then that was the last thing either of them said for a very long time. Finally, he fell asleep.
Supposed to mean
that
that
was
they
supposed
had
to be
sex in
round
that?
2. Yeah.
Oh, Well, okay, then, okay, I'm not mad, but I did miss round 2.
No, I'm still livid. Livid.
I'm not mad anymore, but I am a little mad that we didn't, there's no on-the-page orgasm for her.
No!
At all.
Anyway, so this fucking mediocre cis white male gets what he wants. Again.
I probably read that sentence 50 times, and every time I thought, because I went back several times, I'm like, what, did they not get together the second time as promised? 'Cause I'm like, this couldn't have happened. In reality, I'm like, yeah, that's about right. But in romance novel, I'm like, no, you promised. I kept reading that as an awkward silence.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought there was a round 2.
Interesting. I mean, there's definitely gray area here, and I need things to be black and white.
Right.
In this context.
Yes.
Like, I need you to show me and tell me and anything else you'd like to do, frankly. But I need show and tell.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, so then she leaves his bed and she goes back to her bed to spend the rest of the night. And she's like crying because she has fallen in love with him. And she's berating herself for falling in love with him, which, like, yeah, Annabelle, you're a dummy. He's not great. And he's regretting things in the morning as well because they're supposed to be working together and blah, 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 blah. And he is ready to break her heart the next morning. And she's like, wow. She concocts this thing overnight. She's like, I
am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I used you, Heath.
Yeah. She's like, wow. Like, once again, it's one of those, like, I'll just tell him I was drunk and I don't remember. Except this time, I'll just tell him I have zero feelings for him. And I just needed to I need to scratch an itch and get over this supposedly traumatic experience of breaking up with my last intimate partner. And so she's like, I used you. Now I can go after Dean Robillard because that's who I really want. And he goes from, wow, I have to break her heart to, what the fuck?
How dare you? Yeah.
Yeah. How dare you? So luckily they spend most of the day gender segregated again, except that then there was a problem with the house closing. And so Gwen and her husband decided to drive all the way up from Chicago for the last 6 hours of the weekend.
Yeah.
Which didn't make a lot of sense to me because
no,
there's
no
fucking way, but cool. So very pregnant Gwen walks in and everybody immediately thinks that he's actually going to take Annabelle's head off.
Yes.
Everyone.
He's going to python the shit out of her. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Screech.
What?
During the sex, his penis is described as a python in a lot of different ways.
I don't like it.
I just want to move on from that, but I can't. The python wound up inside of her and did so much stretching and all kinds of things.
No.
It was real gross. Anyway, okay, moving on. Gwen walks in. Sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks he's going to coil around Annabelle and murder her.
Yeah, and they're literally surrounding her physically.
Yes.
Because they are worried about this man flying off the handle.
Yes.
And he somehow gets them to allow them to go off by themselves. And shockingly, he's just like, wow, I didn't think you had it in you. Like, you duped me. That's really good.
Yeah. This is the kind of business practices that I've been talking about. Good job, Annabelle. Good job, Annabelle.
Good job.
All right. And that's it. That's the end of camping trip, right?
Bye, camping trip.
Yes.
He goes home on his own. She goes back with Janine. Doesn't really matter. And then they don't speak for 5 days.
No. In the interim, we get another scene with Portia, the other matchmaker, and Bodhi, the Heath's bodyguard, where he shows up to Portia's either home or work. I can't remember. But he basically walks in and is like, take off your clothes. And she's like, okay. And does that. And then, Yeah, so I really like this scene with Portia because they are at her office and she hasn't returned any of his calls, but she's been thinking about him nonstop because she's been wrestling with whether or not their first and most recent encounter on her balcony was degrading. Because while she can look at it and say, on paper, that seems degrading, I don't feel degraded. Right. Which is a really, really important distinction to make in your sexy times.
something can look highly, highly degrading on paper and not actually be that way at all.
It depends on how you feel about it.
Yeah, your politics do not need to match your bedroom antics.
Right.
Those things do not need to jive perfectly for them to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she's also being a huge super dick because she's like, I can't introduce him to my friends. And he's like trailer trash and blah. So there is also that part. But I liked the fact that we watched her tease out, is this okay? Is this not okay? And ultimately she's like, yeah, it's super okay.
Yep.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then
she brings him coffee because he hasn't been returning her calls. So she kind of shoves her way into his office and is like, you haven't been returning my calls. And he's like, how's Dean? You know, like they just kind of have a little bit of a passive aggressive sort of conversation.
Oh, and they set up a Friday night date, right?
Yes.
She has another date?
Yes. She's going to introduce him to somebody new. And then she has another date-ish with Dean where they kind of discuss, hey, listen, I'm using you to wiggle out of this situation with Heath so that it's very clear to the reader she's not into Dean. She just is pretending to be into Dean so that Heath will, I don't know, feel betrayed and fuck off because she doesn't want to be involved with Heath and she doesn't want to be falling in love with Heath.
Well, and it's true that she doesn't actually say Heath's name. She refuses to tell Dean. She just says a man. I'm trying to get out of a situation with a man. Mm-hmm. And then I think Heath stops by to be like, what's going on with you? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
And Dean is there. And so it creates this even larger illusion to Heath that something's actually going on with them.
Right. Like, she doesn't let him into the house. Dean's just there playing cards, hanging out, because they're kind of buddies now. And she doesn't let him into the house. And then Heath sees across the street Dean's Porsche, which is a very distinctive Porsche. And he's like, oh, I guess Dean's over there. Okay, yeah, all right. And then Dean's like, oh, you should have invited him in. I would have, like, smooched on your neck and really made it obvious and made him really jealous. And she's like, har, har, stop it. So she has set him up with a local newscaster named Carrie, and she believes that they're not right for each other at all, but Heath latches on to this woman and is like, yep, she's the one that's right for me. I really like this chick. So he starts dating this newscaster, which really pisses off Annabelle, and she's like, she's not right for you. You need to stop going out with her, which is like, Annabelle, you set him up with her.
Wait, no, I thought that Portia set... Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Oh, really?
I thought Portia set them up.
Oh, maybe that's the truth. I'm not sure. Annabelle was on the date, though.
Yeah. Because remember, she won't set boundaries, and he's like, you're going to do Portia's work, too.
Right.
And then they date for like a month, and then Heath breaks up with her. That's when he shows up at her door, and Dean's there playing cards. Sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit. Yeah, so he's like,
no,
FYI.
That's the night he shows up at her door rumpled and drunk and falls asleep in her bed.
Oh.
So he shows up having broken up with Carrie. He's gotten off a flight. He's drunk from the flight. He doesn't want to go home. He's hungry. There's no food in his house. It's late. And he's just like, Annabelle, I just need a buddy. Like, Carrie and I broke up. Do you have any food in your house? And so she gives him some leftover spaghetti. She's like, you can sleep in my guest room, which is my grandma's old bedroom, and leads him to the guest room. But then on the way, he's like, oh, what's your bedroom look like? So he climbs up into the attic. Her bedroom, you guys, is a nightmare. It is my straight nightmare. It is like all her grandma's old shit, to include a mannequin with a lace tablecloth draped over it and a hat, I believe. What? And then, like, dolls from her childhood. She still has, like, all her stuffed animals and dolls from her childhood. This is a lot like that scene in Love Actually where Laura Linney goes upstairs and tries to clear her bedroom of all the embarrassing shit, which is one teddy bear. Like, remember, poor Laura Linney has one fucking teddy bear, which, good. Yeah, that's a normal thing to have one thing. This woman, her whole house is that. She's got Little Mermaid alarm clock. She's got, like, it's Hello Kitty shit everywhere. Like, and I'm not saying you can't have, like, some, but just know that her whole house is this. It's not like one thing. It's not like I've got to hide my Little Mermaid alarm clock. It's like I've got to hide my life. So he goes up and lays down in her bed. There was a lacy pink bra.
This is so weird.
This was upsetting to me personally.
Yeah.
But wait. But she leaves to go fix something in Nana's room, comes back, and he's asleep on the bra with his, like, hand near the bra. All right, go.
Yep.
I just wanted to set it up so that they know what it is before you lose your shit.
I actually didn't understand what was happening. I was like, oh, she's embarrassed. Like, with one more thing, she wants to get her bra away from him because it's a sexy thing and she wants to keep that separate because she's trying to keep sex and him separate. Okay,
that to
fine.
me made sense. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So I was like, okay, great, fine. And then all of a sudden, when he wakes up and she explains what is happening in her fucked up brain, I nearly threw my phone.
So she's yanking this bra out from under him to the point where he wakes up and he's like, what are you doing? And her explanation is this, go Melody.
She says, I cannot see this lacy brassiere near your man body. Because it makes me think that you secretly want to essentially cross-dress and you're going to tell me one day that you are also a woman.
Yes.
Just like her ex.
And bless him, Heath doesn't understand this either. He says, oh, so you're afraid I'm going to start cross-dressing? Which, guys, is a different thing than being transgender. Just want to throw that out there. And she said, hearing it spoken aloud made her wince. How had she lived to be 31 years old? God damn it, Annabelle. Anyway, without somebody locking her up, like, to be crazy, I guess. She says, not afraid exactly, but the thing is, why expose yourself to temptation?
Oh.
What? So if a man takes her bra off, does she feel this way?
I don't know.
It's so weird.
So then she goes, he loved that. And apparently he starts smiling or laughing or something.
He's like laughing,
and then she's like, she understood his amusement. She'd be amused herself if she were him, but she couldn't find a smile anywhere. Dispirited, she turned toward the stairs. His laughter faded, and another floorboard creaked as he came up behind her. He set his hand on her shoulders. Hey, you're really upset, aren't you? She nodded. I'm sorry. I spend too much time in locker rooms. I won't tease you anymore, I promise. And
this is just... And then he's like, I want something to read before I go to sleep. And so he grabs her sex toy catalog and goes downstairs to Nana's room, sorry. So on the one hand, I was trying desperately to be understanding because,
I've had a few losses in my life and I understand that sometimes you just have either outsized reactions or something will hit you.
Yeah. And it's just a weird thing that you can't.
Yeah. That you're like, I never thought that like seeing a gold colored band would remind me of my dad's hand or, you know what I mean? Like just weird shit. But this, I couldn't.
I think the problem, if it had been described as she saw him laying there with the lacy bra, it was, near his hand or something, and she just had a visceral reaction and she didn't like it and she wanted to snatch it away. And she's like, sorry, I just had a weird thing where I thought about Rob and Rosemary and like, sorry. But it was like, it said something to the effect of since this happened with her ex, she had an aversion to seeing men near lingerie. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like a instant and visceral reaction. No. It seemed like this is something that she can no longer handle just on a whole. And that the rationalization of it explained was too much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if it was just described as like a weird knee-jerk thing, I think I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But it was too rationalized on the page. Like, it was too fleshed out.
Okay. So,
all right, moving on.
We get more of Portia because she is discontent.
Oh, God. I'm ready for this. I'm all geared up for this one. Are you ready? Because I hated this shit. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, please.
Portia and Bodhi. All right. They're at some kind of an art gallery, something. What? Oh, no, just Portia. Portia's at some kind of super fancy party. And she's trying to network.
Of some sort.
Yeah, she's trying to network with people. She's trying to network with an old lady named Colleen. I don't remember if they talked about her in the past. Don't care. Don't know. Don't whatever. So
she's also
like,
expressing that she's like sick of herself. She's sick of power matches. She's sick of everything that she stands for, basically.
Right.
And she's not
she's
sure
just
why.
Feeling bad generally. Her old tricks are not working. She's trying to be charming. She's not. Like, no one's biting what, on her hook and line. So she is trying to talk to this old lady who apparently has a bunch of money that she's trying to network with. And then all of a sudden, Bodhi walks in.
And he was not invited. She did not invite him.
No, she did not. No. But he's also like shown up places where she didn't realize he had the address, like her office. Yeah. So it's possible. But he comes up to this old lady and smooches her on the cheek and is like, oh, hey, Aunt Colleen. And then Portia realizes that the whole story Bodhi told her about growing up in the trailer park and the cockroaches and the abusive alcoholic dad and all that was a lie. And really, he's the silver spoon guy who grew up.
Who has a bunch of tats. That's all.
Yeah. So she understandably leaves the party very hurt by Bodhi's betrayal because they've said very few words to each other, and the words that he said to her have been a lie. Because remember, he only took her out because he was blackmailing her.
Yeah.
And then he showed up twice, basically wordlessly, and had sex with her and psychoanalyzed her.
Well, and they have been having liaisons, and the reason that he knows she's there is that she left an invitation out on a countertop in her home. So it's been more than just those two encounters. Granted, SEP, we have only seen one of the two mentioned encounters, which I'm pretty pissed about, honestly.
Fair. So he chases her outside and he says the following, that he lied to her about who he was and where he was from because he knew that she wouldn't accept him if she knew that he was rich, and she just parade him around, and that she's been treating him like a piece of meat. And that's why he lied to her. Which, okay, if this relationship had been like Portia spotted Bodhi at the bar that night, decided he was a hunk of man meat, and decided she was going to go slumming, and assumed that he was this like barfly, good old boy, poor kid, and she was gonna just hop on him and then leave, or have some kind of just sex arrangement with him, then I would have believed this story. If Portia had gone up to him and been like, hey, you, I want to do this, let's get out of here, and had been going over to his place and like just trying to fucking leave, fine. But this whole thing has been driven by Bodhi. He approached her. He went to her house. He went to her workplace. Like, he is the one every time that has been like, I want to come have sex with you and not have a relationship. So it's like,
and let me just
he's not justified
pick
this
out
at all.
let me pick out a few choice phrases, because there is so much. And meanwhile, I have loved Bodhi and Portia.
Me too. Right up until this.
Yeah. He gaslights the shit out of her.
Yes.
So he says, how about apologizing for treating me like nothing more than a piece of meat? And she goes, oh, no, you don't. You're not turning this back on me. You're the one who lied. Which, yes. Preach, Portia.
Yes.
And then she goes, the whole time you've been laughing at me. And he goes, yeah, sort of, when I wasn't laughing at myself. I told you what you needed to hear if the two of us were ever going to have a chance. As if Bodhi, the omniscient God, knows exactly the formula to make sure they have a long-standing chance. Like, don't mansplain my feelings to me. And then she goes, lies are your idea of how to start a relationship? And he goes, they're my idea of how this one needed to start.
Yeah.
And then she says, you wouldn't have been a secret if you'd told me the truth. And he goes, oh, right. You'd love that. You would love parading me in front of your friends. You'd love knowing that my dad's side of the family is even more respectable than the aunt you just met. And she's like, you act like I'm some terrible snob. And he goes, don't even try to deny it. I've never known anyone as frightened of other people's opinions as you. And while all of that is true, that is not a place from which I can springboard into a big personal revelation.
No.
Like, when you start from the foundation of lies and gaslighting, I am on the defensive, period.
Right. But the thing is, he can't have it both ways. Either she wants him just because he's the silver spoon, or she wants him just because he's a slummy stud. Because he says, you wanted a stud and I was more than happy to comply, but it didn't take me long to resent being your dirty little secret. And it's like, she didn't want him to be her stud at all. He's been the one pushing this whole time. He picked her out of the bar. He went to her house. Yeah. So it's like either his feelings are hurt because she was slumming with him and didn't want a real thing, or his feelings are hurt because she only wanted him for his money. But he can't have it both ways. Either she's a snob or she wants to get dirty with some tattooed muscle man in a bar. But he can't be mad at her for both. That's what I'm mad about.
Yeah. Yeah, but so Bodhi's whole thing is like, you need to start leading with your heart and not leading with the idea of living up to other people's expectations because you're not happy. No. All of that is true.
All of his shit is right. It's just how he went about it.
God. So she tells him to go to hell and she breaks up with him.
Yeah. Justified.
Yes. Good job, Portia.
Good job, Portia.
Yeah. Figure your life out on your own because you do not need that nonsense. Mm-hmm. So he and Heath talk it over. And then Heath pulls in Annabelle and Portia. And he's like, I'm giving you an ultimatum. You have one more date. This has gone on too long.
Football season is starting. So I don't have time for this anymore. One more date from each of you. That's it.
Yeah. Bring me your best. And if not, like, I'm terminating our contracts.
Can I talk about one thing in this meeting? She goes in.
Yes.
Portia's already there. Annabelle stared at her competitor's feet. At first glance, the shoes looked the same. They both had open toes and low heels. But one was a black mule and the other a navy slingback. What a couple high-powered ladies in the city.
Oh,
low heels, open-toed, mules, and slingbacks.
Here's my next question. Portia had to be wearing hose, right? She was wearing hose with open-toed shoes.
Oh, God, kill me now. And what is this, 2003 or something like that?
2005, yeah.
Worse. Listen, all right, guys. I was already wearing business attire in my life in 2005, and I sure as fuck wasn't wearing low-heeled slingbacks with open toes. No. So get your shit together, Portia and Annabelle.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be more fashionable than a 19-year-old Erin back in the day.
It's true. All right. I mean, not to fashion shame them. They can wear whatever they want.
No, I'm bing boom bong fashion shaming with Erin. Portia and Annabelle need to get it together shoe-wise.
Fair. Well, and this is just to show that Portia's a mess without Bodhi, I guess. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so they leave. Portia stops by Bodhi's office, and do they get back together there?
Kind of. They talk about it.
Yeah.
They may. I don't know. They get back together, guys. They talk it out. I don't know when it happens.
Anyway, Annabelle is like, all right, I'm going to stop fucking around. I know the perfect person for Heath. I'm going to finally do it. And her name is Delaney.
Which is crazy to me. She's known the perfect person, but she's a matchmaker. That is her whole profession. And she has known the perfect person for Heath the whole time, or at least 4 weeks. And she's been like, nah, I guess because she's in love with him. But like,
I mean, maybe.
Listen, Annabelle, you're not fucking Heath because of your profession. You've decided Heath is not for me. I'm going to get over this thing I have for Heath because I need to succeed professionally. Right. But then also, you're not hooking him up with the one person that you know would be successful for. You're fucking yourself 2 different ways, Annabelle. Either be with him or hook him up with the person you want to,
Yeah, or get him out of your life by finding him the perfect wife. That's
saying,
literally your job.
Yeah.
So they go on a date. And, Delaney Lightfield. She's perfect for him because she has the pedigree and everything else, but her family has fallen on hard times. And so Heath can provide the money to still make him feel manly in all of his man parts.
Yeah, well, what's great is that she has the pedigree, but she's got, like, nothing going on right now. So she can fully commit to her whole life being Heath's wife.
Yes.
It's the perfect situation. Really, Annabelle has knocked it out of the park on this one.
And he tells her so. So they have a great first date. Annabelle, doesn't even have to shuffle her out of the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And he's like, wow, you really know how to deliver under pressure. And Annabelle's like, yeah, fuck me sideways. And then they date. They're dating now.
They date for a good amount of time, at least 6 weeks. Delaney meets up with Annabelle again. They run into each other somewhere. I don't remember where because she's a mutual friend with someone. And Annabelle's kind of like, hey, Delaney, how's it going with Heath? I love Heath. Like, ooh. And Delaney's like, it's going great. I really think he might be the one. It's just like, I'm having this problem where he won't have sex with me.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you think he's gay? Because I've like really tried to like put his hands on my boobs and like really tried to be real clear with him about what I want and he won't do it. And whatever.
So he won't have sex with her because, you guys, she's the perfect woman. And they are either sex objects or they are wife material, which is such a good and healthy perspective for a long-lasting marriage. So good.
Yes.
And really, he's like, you know what? We've been dating for 6 weeks. I know I want to wife this lady. So I am going to propose to her and then we can have sex. And it is just Banana Town bonkers. Of course, this is all because he really wants Annabelle.
He really is in love with Annabelle.
But I don't care.
Before we get to the proposal with Delaney, we get a fascinating little scene with what are you looking at? What is happening in Melody World now?
I'm just staring off into the dismal future of all
these. At the weirdest angle? What? I was assuming there was a spider or something up there.
No, I'm honestly just staring off into the nothingness that is the future for these people. I guess.
Are we done? Should we stop? Are we done podcasting? Is this it? Is this the last episode?
No,
I have never seen you give up in the middle of an episode in such a clear, just like, wait, not even in the Wall of Winnipeg when we were just like, and then they do another puzzle.
No, you know what? At least we had puzzles to look forward to.
Fair. Okay, but wait, I'm about to light a fuse under your ass because
please do.
Next what we have is a fascinating little scene with Portia in a gas station. Go, Melody. Go.
I don't know what this is.
Portia's gonna buy some Peeps.
Oh.
Did you herbs this?
Oh, no, I didn't. I just wiped it from my brain.
Here she goes, guys.
Me so
Here she goes.
Crazy.
Here she goes. She's not staring off into the distance anymore. She's ready to fucking go. Oh, she's itching her scalp. So, here it goes.
Portia, right?
I knew it.
Portia. Now, let's recall how triggered I was in chapter 3 when she was weighing her employees and firing people for being fat and stuff. And not fat. And I can't even, okay. So, Portia's at her wit's end. She doesn't know what to do with herself. She's unhappy.
She didn't get back with Bodhi, guys.
She did not get back with Bodhi.
Sorry, we said that.
It's fucking October or something. Like, it is late. And she walks in. She decides that she's gonna go.
She's gonna get some sleeping pills.
She's gonna get some sleeping pills. Yes. And then she gets her sleeping pills and she looks over. And there is this Peeps display that has, months old. Let's review. It's October. And these Peeps have been around. She picks up like 4 boxes of Peeps or 8 boxes of Peeps. I don't know. I don't care how many Peeps she eats. And then goes up to the counter. And meanwhile, like, Portia, I feel like, is that character from Devil Wears Prada where she's like, I'm on a diet and so I don't eat until I feel like I'm going to pass out and then I eat a cube of cheese. Right. That's it. That's who she is. So then she goes up to the counter and she starts paying for everything. And the kid at the counter is like very reasonably like, oh, there's a huge tear in this Peeps thing. How about I get you a new one? Because this is open and it could be poisoned. And she is so embarrassed about somebody maybe seeing her in general, but then buying any kind of junk food or maybe food in general. Like, I think she might be a person who doesn't really eat in front of other people, which is its own form of disordered eating. Talk to someone because you deserve better than that. So she is in such a rush to get out of here lest someone see her with a thing of candy that she like drops them on the floor. She's rude to the cashier. Like, she is not at her best, our Portia. And then she goes home.
We're having an aftershock over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry. I've ruined it. Just keep going.
No, not at all.
If I ran from the room, I wanted you to know why.
Yes, please. Yeah, please tell me. All right. And so then she goes home and she proceeds to eat them all.
Yes,
and feel
one
terrible
by one.
About herself.
Yeah. This isn't like glamorized. Like, it's clear that the author is writing Portia to have a problem that is a problem when she's weighing the other women. When this is discussed as a problem with Portia, this is not like, good job, Portia, you know.
No, but it's almost worse because it's never dealt with as a problem this serious would have to be dealt with.
That's fair. Yep.
It's dealt with at the end. Spoiler alert, Bodhi fixes it with his magic fucking penis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is not the way that works, everyone. Oh.
I have bigger issues with other parts of the book. At least this is written to be Portia has a problem. There are other just casual parts of this book that are like, Heath walks up to Annabelle's refrigerator and flips through the diet meal plan she has for the week and looks at all her diet meals. Or there's a part when they're at the campground where Heath brings over a brownie.
Yeah.
And one of the girls is like, oh my God, I can't even look at that brownie. Am I right?
I'm going to drink my calories. Thank you.
Yeah. She's like, I need to save my calories for another glass of wine. One of the other girls says. And then Annabelle gives the brownie back to Heath and says, I don't need this. You can work this off easier than I can. And then Heath takes a bite and then throws the other part of the brownie in the garbage because he doesn't want to eat a brownie either. And so it's throughout the book. Like I'm highlighting just a couple of things, but
yeah, I'm not saying that it's not okay to write about people who are healthy eaters. Choosing to eat healthfully,
but it's not healthy.
Great.
No,
but none of it is healthy.
No, it's not. And, it's I'm saving my calories for wine. There's a point in which at the end she has a little party and she's been stressed out about Heath. So it says like, oh, she can finally fit into this little dress because she's been so stressed out she hasn't eaten. But then later...
Because she's been so heartsick over Heath.
Yeah, but then later when Heath comes over, when he's tired that night after he broke up with the newscaster, she takes a big thing of ice cream out of the fridge, like Moose Tracks, and just starts shoveling it into her mouth because
she feels so much better now.
So it's not described as healthy eating. It's described as binge eating and depriving and like this cycle.
Yep.
And it's never dealt with our heroine at all. It's never addressed as a problem or a negative thing at all with Annabelle.
Well, no, it's presented as a problem, and then the solution is just find your soulmate, ?
I don't even think it's presented as a problem. I think it's presented as a punchline, like, oh, ladies, am I right? We diet.
Yeah.
I think it's presented in the same way her unruly red hair is presented. Like, what a mess of a lady, you know?
Well, and don't forget all those dudes getting tempted by sexy looking bras
but even with I'm sorry, I'm still on it though, because even if Annabelle is kind of portrayed as a mess, well, is 100% portrayed as a mess, the messiest one we've had, I think, so far.
Yeah.
But even if that's part of her mess, it's not portrayed as a problem whatsoever with the friends being like,
no,
because it's casual with the friends all the time of like, I'm going to have to work this off. Ha ha ha. How many calories do you have left? Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
They're not messes.
No.
At least in the story, you know? So this is just presented as these are things that ladies do.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from Portia. She eats up all them peeps.
Yeah, and she feels like the literal worst about herself because she feels like a failure and a fat failure on top of everything else.
We've all been there.
Good job, us. And then what the fuck happens? He proposes.
Now we're at the proposal.
He goes to propose.
Yeah.
His assistant or somebody gets a ring. He didn't even choose the ring, I don't think. I mean, it is 6 weeks in. How could he possibly know her taste?
I thought he asked Annabelle to choose the ring.
That is probably true. Yeah. That's probably true, too.
Yep. He calls Annabelle for one. So he's going to ask Annabelle to pick out the ring for him for once Annabelle answered instead of her voicemail. And she says, you want me to do what? And then that's the end of the thing.
Yes. So he's about to propose at dinner. He's like working up to it in his head.
He's just going to say, will you do me the honor of being my wife and dodge the whole I love you thing?
Yeah, that's a literal verbatim quote.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the most rational thing about this. He's known her for 6 weeks. And she has spent most of the time just being sort of arm candy with connections at work events with him. So, I mean, he doesn't have time to ask her about herself.
Right.
Jeez.
So the next series of events is just, it's really, really weird plot-wise for me.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have a highlight that I have to read.
Okay.
So he's thinking about the proposal. And he wondered if she'd get teary-eyed when he gave her the ring. Probably not. She wasn't too emotional, which was another positive.
Mm-hmm.
Afterward, they'd go back to his place and celebrate their engagement in bed. He'd make sure he took it slow. He sure as hell wouldn't rush her like he'd rushed Annabelle. Because remember, everyone, this is wife material.
Right, yeah.
But then he says, damn, that had been fun. Fun, but not serious. Making love with Annabelle had been exciting, crazy, definitely hot, but it hadn't been important. And that is how our hero feels about sex and women. So good. All right. So Annabelle calls him before he's about to propose.
It's so weird.
And she's like, I have 17 footballs in my room, in my house, and I need you to come and figure it out. Because it was just supposed to be like 2 or 3 footballs, a casual night with a couple of footballs. Mm-hmm. And instead, I've got like the whole second string here.
They're drinking, they're, quote, playing their hip-hop music.
Oh, boy.
They're all over the place and they won't leave my house. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
He gets there. She's like, this is your fault. I would not know all these footballs if not for you. And they're all at my house now, which is ridiculous because the reason she has 17 football players in her house is because of her relationship with Dean, not because of her relationship with Heath. She was friends with Dean. Dean invited all his friends over. She needs to handle that between her and Dean. This has nothing to do with Heath. She has no reason to be calling Heath whatsoever. So he gets there. She flies off the handle at him. Then he escorts Delaney. Yeah, he escorts her outside and he's like, hey, Delaney, I can't leave her here like this.
And meanwhile, all they're doing is sitting around drinking beer and they have ordered pizza.
Those
are the cardinal sins they have committed.
Their music is loud. But also,
they're in their house, they're listening to music, and they have ordered food.
And they all seem to be really polite toward Annabelle. So I see no reason why she couldn't be like, hey guys, I really like you guys, but the music is too loud. Either, maybe turn it down, or can we just not do this here tonight? And you know what? Yeah, these multi-millionaires could go buy a fucking house for the night that they could hang out in. It was just so weird. She just couldn't handle this situation as an adult.
Yes, all Annabelle had to do was set some fucking boundaries. Yes. And she could not do it.
She couldn't do it.
So anyway, basically, this somehow turns into a referendum on their relationship and Heath's life because Delaney's like, actually, I'm too proper to deal with this nonsense.
Yeah, he's like, this is what my life is.
You are too proper. And I'm like, no,
this is not what your life is.
No.
Your life is not hanging out with football players. First of all, he does not even need to party with these guys if he doesn't want to. He's their agent.
Yeah.
He sometimes has meetings and stuff at clubs, but I don't think that affects his future wife at all. He's not having house parties at his house that are like, Like, no, he is not. No part of this entire night made any sense to me logically as a plot at all.
Because let's review. Heath can go to the club by himself, just as he has been doing for years.
And he frequently does. Yeah.
So anyway,
they break up.
Somehow they break up on the porch amicably. And he's like, wow, Annabelle's really the lady for me. This is when he decides that she is more than just a piece of flesh that he can pump into and not satisfy.
Right. And if he would have walked back in, got rid of the football players and said, Annabelle, it's you. It's always been you. You picked out this ring. I'm going to put it on your finger right now. I love you. And she said, I love you too, Heath. And that was the end of the book. That would have been
great.
Just as good of an ending. But don't worry, guys. A fifth of the book is still left.
Yeah, there's still way more book.
I don't even know why.
There's so much of this. So there is so much book.
Yeah.
It may only be 24 chapters, but each chapter is like 3 regular chapters.
There is so many false endings.
So instead, he hangs out with them. Annabelle falls asleep on the couch for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
When she has a perfectly good bed.
Right.
He and Dean have some words that
He falls asleep in her bed, I want to say. He sleeps in her bed, I think.
Yeah, and she sleeps on the... whatever. I don't care. And then
she's having a birthday party with her family. You know, the rich, judgmental family that she has that doesn't like her career and doesn't like her love life and stuff. So she's going to have a birthday dinner with them. She has invited Dean to go with her to the birthday dinner because she wants to impress her family because they're always saying that she can't catch a man and she can't catch a job and she needs to get serious about her life, which I kind of agree with them, but not to the level that they're mean to her. And so Dean's supposed to show up. Who shows up instead? But Heath. He goes to the birthday dinner or lunch or whatever with her family, and he falls in love with her blue blood, classy family.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, I didn't know that underneath this nest of hair, you have a pedigree.
Yeah. And this is what I've been looking for all along. I just wish that Annabelle would have also been trailer trash from bumfuck Illinois, like Heath and me. But no, she has to be. I mean Heath. She has to be like upper crust Chicago because that's what he wants, which is fucking bullshit. Like, I hated it. I wanted him to be like, you know what? I need somebody who has, I don't know, who I can commiserate with and have a shared experience with. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But no, he gets the thing that he's been looking for the whole time, which is this.
Which he doesn't deserve also. Like, he deserves none of the things.
It's not deserve. It's just like, I thought that he was going to go into this matchmaker situation saying, oh, I want a lady that comes from an affluent family. And then he was going to realize that that's not important. But instead, it's the exact opposite. He finds out that she's from an affluent family and that makes him love her more. I hated it.
Yeah. I mean, and to be perfectly fair, he was in love with her and he was already planning on
but
marrying
it makes him
her
love
and
her
stuff.
more, for sure.
Yeah. And you know what is even worse than that for me? Because what unfolds in this scene is so tone deaf and gross that it makes me livid. So they go to dinner and Heath spends the whole time sucking up to her terrible family.
That are so mean to her.
More than that, yes, they are verbally abusive to her in front of him. And he sees no problems. He's like, I can't believe how wonderful your family is. He has no problem with the way that they are speaking to her. If it had been one of those like hating game situations where he walked in and he was like, I like you guys. And I think I could like you, but you are not going to treat the person that I love this way.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I thought he was going to Eric at the Thanksgiving dinner in the Hernani holiday. That's what I thought was going to happen. Nope.
But no, what he does instead is he obviously cannot read any of her body language or anything else because she is slowly turning into a husk of herself at this dinner. And instead, he's like, wow, I know that she really, like, family's important to her, which she has not given any indication that is the case up until this point. She's also not acting like that right now. And he's like, I'm going to throw away my actual engagement plan and I'm going to propose to her right here in front of her shitty family who, while he's doing the proposal, they're like apologizing for what a fucking mess she is.
Yeah.
He starts saying things like, yeah, you know, when I hired her, blah, 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 but it didn't quite work out that way. And her mom immediately is like, well, I know she can do better. I know that she's really, really stupid and stuff, but, you know, just tell her what you need her to change. And I'm sure she'll do it for you. Yeah. And he doesn't correct them.
No. Even after he's out with it, they're like, why would you want to marry Annabelle?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So she rightfully is like, what are you talking about when he asks her to marry him? And she's like, no, you don't love me. I'm leaving. And he's like, okay, Annabelle, hey, listen, when you get home, turn on your fax machine. I'm going to fax you the receipt for the engagement ring that I bought you that's arriving on Monday. And you will see that I ordered it 4 days ago before I even met your family. Because she's rightfully accusing him of only doing this because he realized she's rich or whatever. And she's like, that's not the point. I don't know that you love me. This is just because I rejected you and you've got this thing where you've got to win. And like, I have no idea what this is, but it's not something I want.
Which I was just raising the roof for Annabelle right there.
Right. So he launches into, you know, I love all these things about you. And she's like,
I haven't heard you say you love me.
Yeah. I don't.
You still haven't said it.
Yeah.
So go fuck yourself. And then you think the book is over again. And this would have been a perfectly fine, happy ending.
This would have been an HEA. Annabelle, single on the town, ready to mingle.
That's right.
Got rid of Heath.
But instead, a series of insane events happen. Annabelle disappears. Mm-hmm. Annabelle packs a bag. Nobody will tell Heath where she is.
Yep. Fuck the other clients. I don't know what she's gone for weeks.
Nobody will tell. He's going around everywhere trying to find her. Mm-hmm. And I love that her friends were like, don't care. You don't get to, I'm not going to tell you where she is.
No, yeah.
But then
he goes on a drunken bender. He's like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like playing Willie Nelson. He's like drinking.
And Portia shows up.
Portia
and she's
shows
like,
up.
I've got my final introduction to make for you, because remember, he gave her the ultimatum,
right?
And Annabelle used hers for Delaney, and now Portia's like, I'm using mine for Annabelle. And
because I've decided you guys are perfect for each other. So I just want to read this exchange.
Yeah, sure.
Portia says, I heard that you proposed to Annabelle Granger last night, but what I don't know is why the little twit turned you down. Given that she rushed out of the Mayfair Club without you, I'm assuming that's what happened. His sense of being ill-used erupted. She's a nutcase, that's why. Way more trouble than I need in my life, and don't call her a twit. Apologies, Portia drawled. This is Heath. It's not like she has a whole truckload of guys lining up to marry her. Then Portia says, I heard her last fiancé had a gender identity problem, so I think it's safe to say you were a step up. And then he says, apparently not. So, like, this conversation is it just made my whole body want to curl in on itself, where it's just like, why is this mess of a woman turning down you?
Like this?
She should be, chomping at the bit to get with
over herself.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Bless America. So basically, he shows up at Phoebe's house. Phoebe breaks down and tells him where Annabelle is. Spoiler alert, shocking everyone. She's at the campground in wherever. And so then she drives up.
You know where she's probably at? She's probably where HB Natalie does survivalist training in Illinois.
No, she's not. She's at her rich friend's shabby chic.
You're right. It's not. It's glamping.
Campground.
They say several times that this is a campground, and it just occurred to me just now that it's not a campground. It's very snazzy cabins. So never mind.
Yes.
It's not where Natalie does her survival training.
No, Natalie is fucking awesome, and she's a baller, and she can survive fucking anything, and everyone should take her classes. These people can't survive literally lace curtains. They couldn't survive them. Okay. So
all right. So he shows up and she's out on the pier. He goes into the cabin and you can't find her. He goes out on the pier behind her and he's like, I used your toothbrush and also like ruined some of your shit. Like I can't
do that.
Just can't.
Stay away from my fucking toothbrush. Just like, does Listerine not exist in this universe? I don't understand.
So
he's unshaven, you guys.
Yeah.
He looks visibly
terrible.
A mess.
He gives it another shot. He's like, I do love you. I've loved you since the beginning. Here are all the things I've loved about you. And she's basically like, no, again. She's like, I don't know what this is. You have this competitive thing. I've told you no.
Yeah.
Persistence for the first time in your life is not going to work. I don't want somebody's secondhand proposal because you thought you'd be married by now. I don't want this. And so she storms off back into the cabin. All right. So who shows up at the cabin?
And Bodhi shows up.
But Bodhi. And also Portia.
And
together.
Portia.
Yeah.
Because Portia's going to be like, I'm power matching you. Mm-hmm. Look how thin I am.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, wait. Animal's back in the cabin. Heath is gone for a hike. He's off on a trail somewhere. And Bodhi's like, Annabelle, he does love you. I know that he does. You need to ask him 2 questions.
Ask him these 2 questions.
This was
Annabelle.
I was so tired of these 2 at this point.
I'm so done.
So Annabelle goes and chases Heath down on this trail, and she asks the 2 questions that Bodhi told her to ask, and they are, where is your cell phone? And he says, I gave it to whoever's kid, the kid that loves cell phones.
He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. It's with the kid. The kid took it. I don't give a shit.
And
As
then,
if he could find it without GPS on his Google Maps.
Whatever. And then he's
Maybe
like...
his car had GPS? I don't know.
And then he's like, the other question is, when was the last time you talked to Dean or whatever? Because the whole time he's trying to get Dean to sign him as his agent, and Dean's now trying to track down Heath to sign him as his agent.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been able to get in contact with him because all Heath has been doing is trying to find Annabelle. So she's like, what was the last time you talked to Dean? And he's like, I talked to him last week, but he didn't know where you were. So I hung up on him.
Right.
And she's like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
you really do love me.
You put work aside.
You put me above your work.
Congratulations.
Then it's the end. There's an epilogue, but I did not read it. I didn't read the epilogue.
I honestly don't remember it.
A lot of people love this book, but I feel like a lot of people love this book from like they read it a long time ago.
From a long time ago, yeah. And it's just the wrong time for me to read this book.
Yeah.
There are too many shades of Trump. There are too many really awful exchanges about transgender folks. It's just too much. It's too much for me. And I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I hated this book. I hated it from start to finish.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if you loved it. I'm glad you love it. I will defend to the death your right to love this book.
Yeah.
I cannot do it though. And I won't.
There were times where the banter sucked me in. I mean, it is a well-written book.
She is an excellent writer.
I just
that's
very
not in
much
dispute here.
Disliked him and also her.
God, I hated him.
And also, if you're going to have a book with explicit sex scenes, I need the woman to have an orgasm.
That I can discern. I want a discernible female orgasm.
Because I was not, until we had this conversation, I did not think she had it. In fact, I texted you.
Yeah.
About it. Because I was like,
I got Muppet texts.
I don't remember what the texts were, but I was real pissed and they were in all caps.
Hold on. You said, there are no orgasms in book. Melody, I have searched 400 pages for Annabelle orgasm. Have found none.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, I love it when you can't even bother with the tenses. Like, you just won't.
Yeah. I mean, normally in text, I skip the articles. Just like I do text speak, but it's not like you are for your. It's just like I'm just like, am go store now is how I usually text with my close personal friends and partner. But when it becomes capital, then the spelling errors start because you no longer get autocorrect because it thinks it's an acronym. So then I get like a lot of spelling errors, and also I stop worrying about tenses.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. So, Erin, do you have a lady love? Oh, you should be so. I just remembered what the epilogue is. You should be so happy. It's about them having a kid. You should be
That's
happy
what it always is. That's what epilogues always are. That's why I never read them. I'm like, oh, they reached the pinnacle of their, worth as humans. They've had a child. Congratulations. Like, I spend a lot of my life not being appreciated in various ways because I haven't procreated yet. I don't need to be told that in an epilogue from a romance novel. Mic drop, the end. I hope Sarah McLean listens to this. Sorry. I got in a Twitter discussion with Sarah McLean about whether epilogues are worth it, and that's my problem. Is I just feel like I don't know, it's always involves kids, and I don't think that it needs to.
Yeah, sure.
Like, it can't be a true happily ever after until they pop a kid out. That's my problem with epilogues. Is that's the subtext to me that I read into it, is like, don't worry guys, they created a family, and that's what we're all really for in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what, if you don't have your belongings tacked down with earthquake putty, it is a good idea to go out and get that earthquake putty and just do the work, because we had the putty, but we didn't use it in any form or fashion on any of our expensive art. And we should have done that. Because there was a good, how long this thing was, like 35 seconds, where I was like crouched down in the doorway of my bathroom, just being like, listening to all the crashes throughout my house, just being like, what was that? What was that? What was that? Oh God, thousands of dollars are crashing all around my house right now. And all you need to do is put the putty on the painting or on the whatever that's spendy in your house. And I don't know why I didn't do it. don't worry. Almost all of those crashes were bottles of vinegar and candles and, unimportant things. But I definitely was sitting there being like, why didn't I just grow the fuck up and like nail your bookcases to the walls, guys? Like, do the responsible thing if you live in an earthquake zone.
Anchor that shit.
Yeah. Get earthquake insurance, do the things you need to do because it can happen. And that's the end of that.
Totally.
Can I just tell you what Rooster did in this earthquake?
Yes, please.
Usually what Rooster does in an earthquake is she tries to burrow into the carpet, like the dummy that she is. She tries to create a safe space by digging into carpet. This one, she knew that this was the big one.
Oh.
We were together in the bathroom. I'm putting my hair up for the day. She's sitting next to me on the floor. We're having a conversation.
She's singing the theme song to her radio show.
Well, no, the radio show's already been recorded. That's fine. Goat's back asleep in the bedroom. They have a very early morning show that they do before anyone gets up in the house. So we're just chatting about politics. She's talking about how there's no collusion, various Rooster stuff.
Witch hunt.
This starts. She looks at me. I look at her. We lock eyes. And she runs to the bedroom. Yeah, like a total bitch. Everybody's out for we had a moment of eyes locked. What's going to happen here? Are we going to stay together or is it every bitch for herself? And I moved to scoop her up to be like, we're in this together, bitch. We're together for this. Erin and Rooster till the end. And she fucking darted off to safety. And I will never forget that. And then when the first aftershock happened, I'm in the living room trying to clean up my shit. And aftershock happened, Goat jumps right into my arms. And Rooster tries, and I'm like, fuck you.
Get away from me.
No.
You abandoned me once.
Yeah. I mean, I will shout it loud and proud. I love Rooster more than I love Goat. Rooster and I go way back. Listen, Rooster is a part of my soul at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I cannot forgive that. That was, we've had an awkward couple of days because, she knows what happened. Yeah.
I bet she doesn't want to talk about it either.
No, we haven't talked about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know what? I have several lady loves that I've just been kind of writing down. But after this episode, I have one in particular that I just have to get off my chest. And that is, my lady love is, don't fucking take it anymore. That's...
From who? Everybody?
That's my lady love. Anyone. Fucking anyone. Something happened in sort of a public place. Two things happened actually in the past week or so in public spaces where I definitely could have taken the polite route. But I think just between reading this and, the world being on fire or whatever, I just couldn't do it. So one of them was a stranger in the park. I was with a few kids and people don't really know what to do with my son because even if they can't see that he has long hair, even if he's fully decked out in blue because his grandmother does most of his clothes shopping and I don't care, they'll still look at him and often think he's a girl because he just has a really pretty face. He's still in that sort of chubby whatever and I don't care. So I never really... 3 things happened this week. Jesus. I never really correct them.
Right.
And so, because I honestly don't care and neither does he.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them was this guy. It was in the same interaction. And this guy was first of all, he was like, whoa, you're going to be a heartbreaker talking to my 2.5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to make sure that the boys you got to make sure that you get presents out of the boys if you're, when you're older and you got to make sure to work them and all this really weird sexualizing manipulative stuff.
That's weird. Even if your child is a girl, that's weird.
Thank you.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree should have been my child is a boy, but he is gay. But so thank you for giving him some advice.
Right. Yeah. And so I was I looked at him and I was I don't know if that's appropriate talk for the playground.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's standing there with somebody else and they were talking about my son and 2 other kids. And they were talking about how they would be like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally just had enough. And I looked up and I said, actually, I'd really appreciate it if you stopped sexualizing my child. Thank you very much. Because he's 2. I don't care what gender he is. They are toddlers. Get out of here. And so I didn't know these people. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm probably going to be Christmas time banter, that crazy lady who was like, stop the BPC or whatever. But that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I was at another place with actually pretty...
Can I interject with a story? Because it reminded me.
Sure.
This is just, we're going to use the last hour of this 3-hour podcast for some stories. But my mother, this is probably when I was in like high school-ish or something, but it was when like the Jeanco jeans, like the big wide jeans were cool and stuff. And my mom's trying to get me something for my birthday. So she's in like the teen area of like Bergner's or Kohl's or something like that. Anyway, she is not familiar with the brand FUBU. So she's looking at some FUBU gear for me. And one of the ladies at the place was like, hey, what are you shopping for? And she's like, oh, I'm trying to find something cool for my daughter for her birthday, like some cool wide leg jeans or something. And she's like, oh, well, this brand isn't for your daughter. It's for Black people.
No.
And my mother became indignant. She's like, it stands for us, by us, and it's just for Blacks. And my mom was like, well, sorry, I just love this story.
Oh my God.
It's like, well, then I will buy them for my daughter because she's Black. And then she bought me like 3 pairs of FUBU jeans. And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, I can't wear these. Like, I feel like it's going to be like awkward. Like I'm trying to culturally appropriate if I show up at school with FUBUs. And she's like, yeah, but I couldn't not buy them because I was so mad at that store lady for saying that these jeans were for Black people. It was hilarious. So she probably dropped like $150 on like FUBU gear just to be like, fuck That's you. Amazing. You don't know that my daughter is white. You don't know what families are about. And also you can't say that certain clothing is for certain colors of people. And she was so mad. Anyway, it just reminded me of that to be like, anyway. All right.
That's
okay.
Fabulous.
Sorry. Continue.
No, that's fine. Then later on, I was with somebody else and they, really sort of jokingly were like, man, I'd do that if I was a pussy or something like that. And I was like, oh, would you? Would you do that if you were a beautiful, accommodating sexual organ that 51% of the entire population has? Is that what you're saying to me? So just don't take it anymore. If somebody says something that you don't agree with, don't feel like you need to be polite and acquiescent to their bullshit because you don't. And I was fairly nice about it because this person I do know, and I know that they didn't mean it in that way. It's just like it's a thing that they've grown up with and they didn't actually think about it. So we ended up having this really cool conversation where I was like, think about the implicitly misogynistic language that you come out with all the time. I just want you to think about it. Like, even if it's not pussy, even if you're not maligning an actual part of my body by saying that it's somehow less than and it's icky and you don't want to be like it, then think about any time you use the word sissy or something similar where it's not a curse word, for example, and it's not like, you're calling someone a cunt, even though I've long been on the side of like reclaim cunt. Yeah. Right. But I was like, you are allowed in my presence to say that something is so fucking cool, like that's so pussy, or that's the tits. Like, that's fine. You can celebrate things to the rooftops using my genitalia. You may not, however, malign things by calling it feminine in my presence and get away with it. And so afterwards they were like, man, I didn't even think about that, but you're so right. And it was a cool like moment and it turned into a really good experience. But I was just like, I just want you to think about all of the times that we implicitly put down women in very casual ways. And think about what that says, not only about you, but the way that you interact with women, think about what that says about what you think about your mom. Think about, like 51% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just don't fucking take it anymore, guys. You can be rude about it if you want. You can be really polite about it if you want, but don't feel like you need to take it because you don't ever.
No.
You never do.
Mm-mm.
That's my lady love.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can find us on all the places if you would like. And I would like to see you there.
Mm-hmm.
On Instagram, you can find us at Heaving Bosoms. Twitter is at Heaving_Bosoms. Facebook is at Heaving Bosoms, the Heaving Bosoms podcast. We have an excellent group that my brother just posted in for the first time.
Ooh.
And that is the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult.
What did he post?
Well, for Christmas, he just bought a house. And so I got him sort of an early Christmas housewarming gift.
Mm-hmm.
I got him Post Pour Company's Werves scent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
we should shout them out. Let's do that now, at least. We'll do it again, too, for Christmas.
So, yeah, friend and listener, pal of the podcast, Jennifer, has a great organic soy candle making company.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, called Post Pouring Company.
Mm-hmm.
On Instagram, it's at Post Pour Co. And she has made a scent that is Keep Being a Badass. She's made a Lady Love scent. And so far, she's also made a Werves scent. Mm-hmm. And I think forthcoming at some point is going to be an England Times candle.
Yes.
And so check them out. They're awesome. They smell so good. And they're sort of like the perfect size.
Mm-hmm. And I have some too, but they're trapped at UPS right now.
Oh, no.
So we only check that box like every couple weeks, and then the earthquake happened and they're not open. Probably because all the boxes fell off the shelves.
Probably. Oh, no.
Yeah, everything's closed.
She packaged it. So I will say that...
Oh, 100% those candles are okay. I just mean that UPS is closed.
Yeah. But she ships anywhere in the U.S. and it was all packaged incredibly well. And she has a bunch of holiday scents. So, check it out. She has an Etsy shop. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are all the things. Oh, and then email us if you want. And that is heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com.
Yay!
And so, Erin.
Yes?
I would like for you to keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love... You know what? And love yourself as much as you love discernible female orgasms.
Yes, knowing... that definitely you had one.
Everyone had an orgasm.
Yeah, that's knowing for sure. Just the sentence, and then she had an orgasm. Love yourself as much as you love that sentence more than what happened here today.
Yes.
All right.
I love you,
I
Erin.
love you too. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.